Well, we've been talking a lot in light of what happened with George Floyd and some of the other cases we've seen of police brutality, of educating kids properly and making sure they're raised right and they know the differences between right and wrong and what racism is. And, you know, education does play an important role as a gateway opportunity. At KairosPDX, their goal is to work with education and children to improve interactions with law enforcement and level the field for children of color and to help raise anti-racist children.
The executive director of KairosPDX, Thorne Ladd, gave a moving speech with several community leaders as they discussed this topic and where we go from here at last weekend's community conversation with Black leaders. Here's a part.
I see their beauty and innocence, their intellect and brilliance, and I wonder how and when the world will snatch that away from them. And then my head begins to spin. I'm not just a mom, I've devoted my life and career to children, and I'm always palpably aware of their presence. I know they are watching what we do and what we don't do. They're watching what we say and what we don't say. Every moment is instructive to children, and they are listening for something. And if they only hear silence, their heads are filled with noise. And this noise can be fear, it can be depression, it can be complacency, it can be grief.
So this morning, we wanted to talk with Kali about the ways that systemic change can happen in and outside of policing and in other areas of the community as well to improve those outcomes for all children and bring about generational change. She joins us live this morning. Kali, good morning. Good to be with you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I want to ask you, first and foremost, really the big story that had a lot of people talking yesterday was Portland Police naming a new chief, Chuck Lavelle. What's your reaction to that news?
I think it's a very bold move by the Police Bureau. I am not very involved in police affairs, but from the community leaders that I know and work with, they have a lot of positive things to say about him. And so I'm looking forward to his leadership. He's stepping in obviously a difficult time, but an important time in history. I think it was a really large move for the chief to step aside and allow him, Chuck, to lead. And I'm looking forward to seeing what his leadership provides for us.
Yeah, he seemed just as surprised as a lot of people at that news conference yesterday. What other areas should we really be looking at as far as, you know, focusing on systemic change?
You know, I think there's a huge opportunity for us to be looking at systemic issues with hiring. I spoke a little bit in my talk about how it impacts education, but not just hiring, but the hiring, retention, and ability to move up in a company, promotion, and then rates of attrition for Black employees is a big issue. And there was a very good article in the New York Times, the Sunday New York Times, that talked about how corporate America has failed Black people. And it's not just corporate America. You can look across sectors in the public, private, nonprofit, philanthropic sectors, and we see leadership teams that are largely white, boards that are largely white. We are not seeing people of color rise up. We see high attrition rates in a lot of places. When they get to a certain degree of leadership, then they are not able to move up and have access to other opportunities. And as I said, diversity is important. It's one thing to hire someone, but what are the conditions you're creating that allow them to thrive in the workplace? And I think the more voices we have in any workplace, the stronger we can be and the more likely we are to be anti-racist as a society and within the institutions in society. So that's one big area. I think, you know, I have a big power. I believe in the power of words and images, and the images and words we consume create narratives for us in our mind and our belief systems. And I think we can often be careless in how we characterize people and the way we talk about people. There was another NPR piece that talked about how we use the word unarmed Black man whenever we talk about Black men, and that connotes a belief about Black men to begin with. And so just being really careful, I think, in the media and obviously in classrooms and how we talk about Black people and other people of color, what we say and what we don't say says a lot.
Yeah, you mentioned all of those small ways that I think people are becoming more aware of bias creeping in there. But you mentioned in classrooms too. I know you have a big background in education. So what are some of the things we should be focusing on right now with children? I know there's been so much attention on these demonstrations and on policing, but where is that opportunity in looking at those achievement gaps and those outcomes?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest opportunities we have right now, both because of what's happening around race, but also with the pandemic, is to have a more explicit focus on the well-being of children and supporting the whole child. For a long time, the research has told us that learning actually is impacted by the social emotional well-being of children. And so when children do not feel cared for and safe within an educational environment, it actually impedes their ability for their brains to thrive and for them to learn ultimately without getting into too much jargon. And so I think we really need to take seriously the importance of holistic support for children. We need to understand that well-being is not just academic success, but social emotional success, as well as cultural identity and strong sense of self. If we are to be anti-racist as an educational entity, then we need to be really looking about out the organizational culture in schools and how important it is to have an organizational culture within an educational environment that's inclusive of all children. And that goes to who are the teachers standing in front of the classroom, how do you reflect in the curriculum and the ways you interact with children, their heritage, how are you reinforcing their sense of self? All of those things play into our brains feeling like we are in a safe place where we belong. And for children to ultimately thrive, that is necessary. And so I guess, organizational culture as well as holistic educational support are two huge things that I think are important to ensure that all of our children are successful during this time.
Yeah,
And
Colleen.
recognize, oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say you've given us so much to think about. I think we're about
Yeah.
out of time, but it is one of those topics that you could really just talk for hours about because these are things a lot of people haven't thought about
Yeah, and some very
before.
important conversations that I think we're all just starting to have. So I would encourage all of our viewers to go learn more at KairosPDX. We're going to put the link online if you want to dig into this topic. A lot of resources for families there as well on coin.com. Collie, thanks so much. We appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you for having me. Have a wonderful day.